Hello and welcome back. It's Jennifer. I hope you're having a good week. Today I'm doing a technique I haven't done in ages, and I was really excited to do it again. I forgot how much fun it is, and that is to create your own ink pads using baby wipes and reinkers. This is surprisingly easy and gives really beautiful results. Now I'm going to start with these floral cards first, and at the end of this video I'll have a couple bonus projects to share with you. Now these floral images and sentiments are from a new stamp set that is a collaboration between Simon Says Stamp and altenew. It's part of Stamptember over at Simon Says Stamp, and this is available in limited quantities and it's only available at Simon Says Stamp. I like that sketchy outline floral and then the solid images that you can use to kind of paint in that outline. There's also some beautiful sentiments in this, and this is a large 6x8 stamp set. Now today I decided to use Reinker specialty stamping paper. This is a unique matte coated paper that is really fun to stamp on. So it's not as slick as like a glossy paper, but it's not like regular cardstock. It's somewhere in between. That's kind of how it seems to me. It's just a very smooth stamping surface. And you can buy it in packs of 8.5 by 11 or 12 by 12, and I just cut them down for today. I am stamping on them with Versamark ink and then heat embossing it with gold glitter embossing powder. And I'm going to make several that way. You'll see the difference between the specialty stamping paper and other cardstocks as we move along here. Okay, now it's time to create my little DIY ink pad using baby wipes. I have 3 baby wipes that I have folded here. I like Kirkland brand baby wipes for everything I do in crafting. They're available at Costco or Amazon, and I'll provide a link below. So I have them folded over here, 3 folded up, and I'm just going to put drops of Distress Reinker down. The reason I'm using Distress Reinker is because it's really the only reinkers I have. I don't use reinkers often for any inks besides Distress. Distress are designed to kind of need reinkers more often because of the properties they have, but that's okay because there are many techniques that you can do with Distress reinkers. So I'm putting a few drops down here. It looks like I'm putting down more than I am. I really am not using much, and these reinkers really last you quite a long time. So I've done a mix of colors here, kind of the darker in the center, lighter towards the outside. This is going to be very vibrant because I picked bright colors. If you want it to be softer, you can use softer color reinkers or mist that baby wipe ink pad with water first, and that'll lighten it up too. So I've inked up my stamp and I'm pressing this down onto my paper. Now since this is a matte coated cardstock, it doesn't absorb right away. See how it's slick there? It's going to take some time to dry. I just used my heat gun to speed it up. You could totally do this technique on regular cardstock and it would absorb very quickly. But I really like this look. It almost looks like I painted it on and all I did was stamp it. And when you leave it to dry, especially if you have a lot of ink on your stamp or a lot of water in your ink pad, then you get more of a watercolor look when it dries. It's really quite beautiful. So here I'm spraying the ink pad with water so you can see how you get a softer kind of watercolored result this way. And again, this won't absorb in right away. That's the fun part about stamping on this specialty paper. But again, you can do this technique with regular cardstock. So now I'm going to create another ink pad out of baby wipes. Baby wipes seem to have the right amount of moisture in it to create an ink pad like this one, so it works very well. Again, I'm using Distress Reinkers in a few different shades of green. However, if you don't have Distress Reinkers, you can try any other dye reinker that you may have. So I'm putting the colors down here. I tend to go with the darker colors towards the center and the lighter towards the outside, so it almost looks like the stamping has highlights on the edge. Now when I go to stamp this, I'm actually stamping on top of my gold embossing. But that's okay. That gold embossing will resist the color, and when we heat set it, it'll be completely fine. So you can kind of see, since this is a slick surface that we're stamping on, when I go to stamp it, you can see the ink kind of move under the stamp because it's not absorbing right away as it would if we were using regular cardstock. So this is just really fun to use. I will use this paper again in future videos. It's good for basic stamping, but it's really great for technique, so I definitely like it. Okay, so I went ahead and did all my stamping for the leaves, and then I heat set everything. You want to make sure that it's heat set and that's completely dry so you don't mess it up when you move on to the next steps. I also gold glitter heat embossed sentiments on the bottom of all of these, and all those sentiments are from that same Simon Says Stamp altenew stamp set. Now here are the results of one of the vibrant ones, where I just used the Distress Reinker right on the baby wipe. Here is, you can see the flowers are a little softer. That's where I misted it with water to kind of dilute the ink color so it's a bit softer looking. Now I decided to keep this card very simple from here on out. This has a lot of gold glitter embossing between the flower and the sentiment, so I didn't put any added embellishments, but I did add them to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch top folding note cards with a piece of white craft foam between. So here I have a piece of white craft foam cut slightly smaller than our stamped panel, and I'm gluing that in between the stamped panel and the card. This will give it a nice even raised dimension so that when we send this to the mail, it won't get squashed. And by the way, for the vibrant flowers, I added it to a vibrant coral cardstock, and for the softer colors, I used a softer color cardstock. There you can see the beautiful results that you get with this technique. Now, if you would have used regular cardstock for this, it wouldn't have that slick finish to it, and it would kind of mute down a bit because that's what happens as the ink absorbs, but the results would still be gorgeous. I really like those sentiments that are in that stamp set, a lot of different ones that I'll be using often, and they stamp nice and crisp down there with that gold glitter embossing powder. Here you can see the softer one where on the flowers I added water to our little ink pad before stamping. Now you can see the leaves are still pretty vibrant because I never added water to that one, so they stand out a little bit more, and I probably should have spritzed that with water before stamping on these softer versions. So in creating these ink pads, you can make a bunch of cards at once, and they really don't take that long to pull together because the ink's already mixed for you. You don't have to hand paint them. So I thought I'd make another card while I have my supplies out, and I actually used the same little ink pads that I created from baby wipes to create the stamping that you see here. I'm using the My Favorite Things Modern Trees for this example. I like that they have clusters of leaves and the trunks of the trees, so you can stamp them separately in different colors. Well, I thought I'd stamp the leaves with the DIY ink pads that I created today. So I'm actually taking the red ink pad that I used for the flowers and the green ink pad that I used for the stems, and I folded them so they met in the middle, and now I'm inking up my stamp between the two. So when I stamp this, I almost get a rainbow of color. So beautiful. So you could go and do a bunch of trees this way by using those two ink pads together. So you can get a lot of life out of these little ink pads. So the next time you have a day of crafting, just go ahead and create your own ink pads with baby wipes, and the results are beautiful. So I did die cut that tree. I stamped the trunk of the tree with gold glitter embossing powder. And then I die cut a window with the My Favorite Things rectangle peekaboo die. That's one that I've used many times. I think it's beautiful. And I white heat embossed a sentiment under it from this same altenew Simon Says stamp set that I used earlier. Very simple, but I really think that the color on the leaves makes it stand out nicely. Okay, I wanted to show you one more thing. This isn't a completed project, but this is really cool. So I decided to use this same color reinker's that I used throughout this video to create a rainbow ink pad. And I'm going to use this to stamp some cards that I wanted to kind of mass produce. I'm just going to stamp Share Handmade Kindness with this ink pad on a bunch of note cards. So I wanted to show you something first that you can do with this. So say you have your own little ink pad that you've created with reinkers and baby wipes, and you've used it and you're done with it. You can do this technique, and this is so cool. I definitely want to do this in a video soon because the results are just so cool. Now I'm taking the specialty paper from Ranger that I showed you earlier that's got that coated finish to it, and I'm going to rub that onto this ink pad that I created. So I'm just going direct to paper, kind of pressing it in and moving it around a little bit just to get lots of ink on that paper. Now since this is a coated paper, it doesn't really absorb water right away. You got to give some heat to it to absorb the water. So I could leave this by how it is, but I'm going to spritz this with water. And when I do that and I start to heat set it, it's going to create this really cool look. So here I'm spritzing it with water. It's not going to really absorb it because it's a coated paper, but as I heat set it, check out those bubbles that form because it's starting to dry in areas and not in other areas, and you get this really cool look, and it took no effort at all. I love when you can get results like this that look real artsy, but don't need to require any work. So I'm going to heat set that, and then I just used that paper to die cut the word blessings and blessed. This is a new My Favorite Things die set. I really liked the look of this paper, wasn't sure what to do with it, so I went ahead and die cut the words from it. But you could create a really cool background out of that. So stay tuned for a future video where I do that technique because the results are so pretty. Be really neat for an underwater scene. Okay, so there you have some fun things that you can do with creating your own ink pads using baby wipes and reinkers. It's an old technique, but it's definitely fun. I hope you'll give it a try. Head to my blog if you want to see closer photos of all of these cards. I have supplies over on my blog and linked in the YouTube description below. I appreciate you stopping by. In the middle are 2 more videos that might be of interest to you. Also, if you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button in case you want to see future videos. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.